and today I'm going to show you how to make a corsage. You'll need your flowers, a selection of flowers, ones that you like, preferably because you're going to be wiring them, they're a bit hardy, woody ones work best. I've got some freesias here, I've got some white pinks, you can use spray carnations as well, I've got some barley, hypericum berries, limonium and some sedum in the back here. Okay, and also the foliage that I'm using today is going to be eucalyptus and asparagus fern. The tools that you're going to need are going to be your scissors, some stem tape, poly tape, we've got some pins to finish, we've got some twine, you need a spray for misting set on a really fine mist, and a selection of wires. Once you get your flowers, the first thing to do is prepare them. So they would have already been conditioned, you would have stripped the leaves off and cut them at a 45-degree angle so they start drinking. So now after this, normally about 24 hours you leave them just to make sure that they're happy. And what I like to do then is kind of separate them out and see what I've got and what textures to use. Got some green sedum here. Tend to keep my stems for buttonholes and corsages quite short, but again it's up to you, so you just separate them out. Got some lovely limonium for fluffiness, some asparagus fern, some hypericum, and then we've got a selection of freesias. There you go. Right, I normally start whenever wiring anything with my foliage. And on the asparagus fern, they normally come to you just like this. You need to be careful with these because their actual thorns on them are upside down, so don't rub your hands up there or it will catch in and it does hurt. What I tend to do is just snip. Now you're not going to need hundreds of these for your corsage, but I tend to do more than you need so that you can change and swap and you've got some kind of variety there. These are a little bit small, but you can use them and add them if you wish to. I tend to just pop them aside. Again, just fluffier, greener. There's a nice long pointy one on there. Okay. Then you kind of prep hypericum. So we cut off the green hypericum. This is really rich in colour and it always helps if you're using whites and pinks or purples, and it lifts purple, so it's a real good. And you can get this from any florist. You may need to order it in, so I'd probably just check that they have it. And I tend to just look at what I want, and that's quite a heavy clump for what I'm looking for, so I tend to just clip off a little bit. That's much better size. Just peel away the leaves, because the problem with hypericum, the berries are beautiful, but the leaves will go a bit wilty and a bit soft. Any kind of dead leaves or bits that you don't want to see, just get rid of. Fine. Then we've got limonium, which is absolutely beautiful, makes it really light, really traditional, and just gives it that softness as well from the berries. But you tend to need to just, again, like you did with the asparagus fern, just trim it down to the size that you need. I think that's more than enough. And what I tend to do is peel back then. So you're left with something like this, and if you can see, just softens the harshness of the berries. Okay, eucalyptus, really, really lovely silvery colour. The flatness of the leaves, really lovely texture. But what you tend to do is people tend to just pull, and they tend to, as they pull, rip. So you don't want that to happen. So a really, really good tip, because you need something to wire onto, is just pull off the top, like so. You'll see in the centre, you have this lovely stem. Put your nail to the centre of the stem, and then peel. And that is enough. You've got a woody bit there, so you need to just pull out the woody bit. And you've got the longer bit on this side, and you don't want it that long, so you just want to peel it down. We'll come back to wiring those. Then freesias. Now a lot of people tend to individually wire freesia hairs to make it quite light, but because we're doing a traditional corsage today, I'm going to use all the freesia. So I would just say cut down the stem, and then what we'll do is we'll put a wire through to support, and I'll show you that in a minute. If you are going to individually wire the heads, you'll see on all freesias they have a yellowy bottom. You need to take the wire through the yellow bottom and be very gentle because they are very fragile, and bend through and then wrap around. But as I said, for this purpose we don't really need to do that today. Then we come on to our white pinks. You only need to cut them down kind of about an inch, no more than that. They're quite light. Just remove any little bits that you might have because you don't need them. They also sometimes come with these berries. I wire the berries sometimes to give it another texture in there, but you don't have to. It's up to you, it's personal taste. If you do wire them, we'll wire them the same as we wire the pinks now. Again, cut it off an inch. Remove any excess leaves. Okay. Then we have our barley. Now, all barley, wheat, straw tend to have a natural bend. In anything that you do wire-wise, you need to kind of work with the bend that they have. So a lady's corsage is always worn on the right and it's worn down way, so you want the bend to kind of go into the body, and so you kind of need it to flow that way. Okay. We've got sedum. It's quite good, lovely texture, very pretty, and this is actually a pink one, but I've used it at the green stage because I quite like the complement of the berry and the sedum together. What you do is you knead this quite short, so you just chop it off. The leaves are quite a succulent type of leaf, so you can keep them and they are lovely, and I'll show you. Then we have Veronica. Again, we're going to wire these a little bit like we do the wheat and the barley, but you just need to cut them off because we're going to use this lovely length. This, if you're going to use Veronica, you need to use it like the evening before and put them together, or the morning of the wedding, just because they don't like any change in heat, so they can go a bit floppy. And if you do use them and support them with the barley or the wheat, or if you've got dried lavender, whatever you choose, because they can actually work really well together. Okay, so we've got our bits that we're happy to wire. Just take these away, what we don't need. And let's start with the foliage, because the foliage is one of the most important bits. We use it as a kind of protection to the flowers, but also it's traditionally used because if you put them on a jacket or a different colour, it lifts the flowers off it, and green is such a neutral colour with any outfit. So we'll start by getting our wire. Okay. Again, you normally tend to have a kind of larger leaf to support the back, so you work with a tall one, and then you can, the smaller ones you can work in as you come down. So we'll start with the large one. Wire these exactly the same. I use this as a bit of a support, so I'll give a loop first. I tend to push it through 2 or 3 leaves up and hook it in. Okay. Then with the lower leaves, I push them up to kind of cover our wires. And then taking the longer wire, you wrap the wire and the stem together. Now all wires should be able to support their flower or their leaf. And then if you do this and it flops and it bends over, it's not a strong enough wire, so you need a thicker wire. Or if you haven't got a thicker wire, it's always quite a handy tip to double up the wires. Then we take up a poly tape. Now I normally just, how I find it easier to work with, so I tear off a strip first, and then you want to place it quite close to the top of the wire, because as little of the wire that's showing is better. Now you wrap it around, and it's quite hard to get used to at first, but you need to have warm hands. If they're cold, give them a rub, wash them in warm water, because otherwise it won't activate the seal on the tape. So give it a little stretch and just twist it between your thumb and finger around, and you'll see that it causes a nice seal at the top. Then you want to tilt it down and just bring it down like so, covering the wires. We seal the stems and we also seal the wires because you don't want them coming out or scagging you or cutting you. Okay, so I would do for a corsage, you're going to need a few of these, so do a very different sizes. It always helps, and you can work it in as you go down, and I'll show you how to do that now in a bit. Then we've got our hypericum. The little leaves are not so bad, so don't worry about those. It's the bigger leaves that you have to get rid of. I tend to, again, you don't want the thickness of the stem, and with our wire, all you need to do is, you'll see that there are lower. Go through the low one, pull down, just like we did. The longer stem comes around, okay, and it supports. Keep it tight to the top, pull the stretch, angle down and around. See how easy is this? Okay, now as I said, I'd show you the freesia. And with the freesia, what I'm going to do, a little bit like the hypericum, because I'm going to actually use it in its softness, because we are doing a traditional corsage, a really rustic one, is I'm going to put it through its first ball. Bring it down, okay? And then what I'm going to do is bring a second one through. It's just because it's going to need extra support. Taking the longest one, I then bind all the stem and the wires together and just bring it down, twisting down. Some florists will say keep it straight because you don't want it, but I think it works better and is stronger if you twist. Cover again, nice and tight, activating her in, sealing your wires in, and all the way down. Our freesia. Then we come to our pink, and what you need to do is, I do a crisscross in these because they are so light. Some push it up through, put a hook on the end to put it down, but I kind of like the crisscross in these. So you keep it quite close to the base because that's the strongest. You don't want it up here because it will tear quite easy. Push through and just through. Okay. Bend down, front and back, and then what you need is, you need to leave the longer side up, so bring the shorter side down, and again we're going to wind around with these. You take it, and again it winds around the base, all the wires, and to the stem. Okay. Seal up. Now I tend to go and seal up the top, but it's up to you. You can just do the base if you like a little bit of the wire showing. I tend to encase that, and the more you get confident with the tape, the better it will be. Okay, and there is our pink wires. Then we come to our barley, and again we've got that lovely natural bend, so that is going to actually be the back of our corsage. Cut it short because I don't want the stem in this time, but what I do is I need to support it. So again, like we did with the asparagus fern, create a supporting leg just at the back there. There's lots of different ways of wiring, and all florists will do it differently. This is the best way I found that works with the type of corsages we do. And then you take another wire, wrap it around the base, and then bring it down to secure the stem and the wires together. Now, I normally only go to the very base of the barley, because what we want is just a little bit of support, and it can be quite fragile the more you go up. Just bring it down, sealing it off nicely. Then, just like we did the barley, is how we're going to support the veronica. Now I tend to peel off any little excess bits that I don't like on the veronica, again leaving myself an inch. the supporting one. Now Veronica is quite heavy, so I tend to like to give it. So this is my supporting, and again the bend, you work with the bend. Get from the front to the back, and then twist. Needs to be a little bit fragile with Veronica as well because the stem is a little bit softer. And then bring it down around. Totally supported, we're doing well. Again, seal it as tight as you can. Now you can conceal with the Veronica all the wire, but it's up to you, it's personal preference. Be firm but not too firm that they fall off. There you go. And then keep wiring all your flowers up. Last that we've got is the sedum. Again, it's very, very light, so it doesn't need a lot. So again, we're just going to do push through, come down, like we did, just to support it. Just hook it down in. Very gentle on this one because it does have such a soft stem. Just give it a little, only needs a little bit of support. So light, you can support it on one of the legs. Just bring it down. Then we come back to the limonium, and again, nice sprigs is what we need, and we do it exactly like we did the sedum and the freesia. You just bring it through lovely. This is a little bit harder, so you can be a little bit more firmer with this. Seal it up. Keep going. It is time consuming, it is long-winded, but you'll get there. Right, once you've wired all the flowers that you think you need, wire some more, because you always need more, and have your selection out in front of you. I normally do mine in order so I can see all the textures that we've got and what I can use and swap and change in between. So, you tend to always start with the back, and again you need to remember that a lady's corsage is pointing down. So you're almost working backwards on yourself. So we've got some support. Now I'm going to put just another one there, and it's pointing outways, just to make it nice and fluffy, and then I'm going to seal them together. Because a lady's corsage is much heavier than a male's buttonhole, I tend to keep two and keep the stronger one. Okay, so always remember your arch, and if it's naturally curling back, it's back to back, so you need to have that that's the facing one. I always tend to start with the heaviest first, so I've got real nice pink Veronica here, so I'm going to put there, and then I've got two shorter barley wires, so I'm going to just pop that up. And again, remember it's either pointing to the side or pointing back on yourself, and I'm going to put two barley there. And then I'm going to secure those together. Keep securing as you go down. This is the best way to keep it kind of solid and firm. But remember, as you're working down the stem, you need to be cutting out the wires to keep it nice and thin. Always keep your two at the back because they are the ones that you've made strongest. I tend to cut them 45 degrees going up towards the stem because it will give us a natural graduation of the wires. And we've got an extra one there. Okay, and then you need to seal those in. I tend to like another one lower down, so I'm going to put a little bit limonium at the top. And I'm going to give it a leaf kind of support. So take your larger leaves and lift it up a little bit. You can always bend like so. Then I'll take a little bit of freesia to lie in the limonium. Okay, still with me? I'm just going to cut off a little bit because he's a little bit of green. So I've got a tiny bit of green American that I'm just going to put to lift the colour. Then we take our pink. Normally a tighter pink head is better than a fully open one, and you kind of do it size-wise, so you're going from small to large. I'm just going to lie it right in there. Okay, once you've got your first cluster together, I tend to, again, go on the wires, but keeping an extra wire down. So you're making the stem that little bit thicker slowly. And then again, like we did before, cut it down. Now the trick with these kind of corsages is to make it quite fluffy and quite light. So you want to start introducing your asparagus fern through, okay? But at the same time, you need to be adding on your flowers. Be careful with your freesias because they tend to have a mind of their own and want to go their own way. Now, I would tend to steer to doing opposites, so you kind of get it all going, and it's swap and changing all the time. So it's up to you. This is really whatever you like, whatever you fancy, where you like it to go. And this can be as big and as little as you like, so you can just put less in if you want it a little bit smaller. And another bit of asparagus there. Actually, what I will do is even that out, and I'm just going to slip in a little bit. You go first. Right, and you can see my stem's got quite fat now, so we need to thin it out again. Again, keeping one down and getting rid of the rest. You need to keep nice even balance. So I'm going to just pop in my other veronica there. As you can see, we're building textures as we're going. It's just if you do at any time dislike one, you can always cut it off. You're totally in control, and it's up to you. I don't tend to like the tops freesias, some people do. I tend to pull them back. We've got lots of flowers in, lots of textures going on. Just a little bit of seed at the bottom here to finish it off, I think. A little bit of asparagus fern just at the front. So you just do your lower leaves then. A little bit of protection. Just run out of a bit of tape, so I'm just going to get myself some extra tape. And again, this is quite a large one I'm doing, but you can do it as large or as small as you'd like. You can do it as spiky as you like, as little as you like. totally in your hands. And with the wires you can, helps you move things around. And then I'm just going to finish off with a little bit of asparagus fern at the front and just a little sprig of limonium. Again, I need to work into these wires now because I don't need them that thick. So we're going to cut off and then bring and sort in through the ones that we originally started, plus adding some. Now you're on a corsage, because the ladies wear it upside down, you don't need to have it as long. So I tend to cut mine off quite short. Bringing it up and over the green, bending it down so you're covering the edge of the stems so they're not going to scag any clothes. Taping around, encasing it in, bringing it back up. And there's your luxury corsage. It's quite big. Ladies always wear it down and it's always on the right hand side and it's weighted. Okay, and to finish it off, again it's up to you, you can use some ribbon, but we tend to use twine here, just a nice little finisher. And normally for ladies don't need much more than this. I tend to put a little bit, hold a little bit up to the back there because that's what you're going to tie off with. Support it, wind it down and around, leaving grooves in. I always leave some grooves so when I wind back up it's got something to anchor onto. Now you can go all the way down or you can just stop short and then you just catch into your grooves. And then when you come to the back, just be careful when you do this. I tend to lean mine down but make sure that it's holding very gently. Double knot it at the back because you don't want the knot showing, or you might want the knot showing. If you've got ribbon, you tend to pull it back to the front, double knot it and then tie a bow. Cut off the excess that you don't want. Tilt it back up, just double check on it. Take your pins. Ladies always have 2 pins in theirs because they use a crisscross motion. Just like so. And then give it a nice little spray. Basically you're doing this because it no longer can drink water because it's all wired. So you spray it to just give it a little bit of moisture because it can still drink it through its petals. And where you need to do, I would probably rest it somewhere flat in a cool room. Some people advise the fridge, it's up to you, but I don't like it because of the shock value of the heat coming in and out. But just put it in a clean space, cool room, no drafts around, and it'll be perfect for the morning. See, didn't you do well?